We have covered victims who deserve their death in horror movies, from the annoying to the dumb to the evil. However, for the most part, victims in horror movies don't deserve to die. Some do, maybe more than others. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 horror movie victims who don't deserve their fate. Now, I will warn you now, there will be spoilers considering I'm talking about pretty major character deaths, so don't yell at me, you always do. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. And with that, let's jump in. In at number 5, we have Ben from Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is a classic that still holds up today and should be returned to every year by horror movie lovers, because I said so. Released in 1968 and directed by the legendary George A. Romero, Night of the Living Dead stars Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea and follows 7 people who are trapped inside a rural farmhouse in western Pennsylvania, which comes under attack by a group of undead corpses who want to feast on their flesh. Now, Ben is the main protagonist in Night of the Living Dead and is one of the 7 trapped inside of the farmhouse. Despite that though, it could be said that he was some sort of an antagonist, considering one of the characters, Harry, suggested they all hide in the basement, but whatever Ben said goes, and he led a lot of characters to their deaths. If only they had just listened to Harry. Now, Ben ultimately survives the night by doing what Harry initially suggested. However, the next morning he hears a group outside of the home, so he leaves the basement and goes outside. Sadly though, he is mistaken for a zombie and is shot and killed by the group, and in turn cremated along with several dead zombies. It's a sad way to go out, especially after surviving a night of endless torment against undead, only to be killed by fellow humans. Sucks. If you haven't already guys, be sure to hit that like button, it really helps us out a lot, so smash it. And with that, let's jump into number 4. In at 4, we have the father from Train to Busan. This is by far one of the saddest horror movie deaths in cinematic history, quote me on that. Released in 2016 and directed by Yeon Sang-ho, Train to Busan is a South Korean action horror movie that takes place on a train to Busan, as the title gives away, as a zombie apocalypse suddenly breaks out and threatens all of the passengers on the train. On the train to Busan is Seok-woo, I think I'm saying that correctly, a divorced businessman who is obsessed with his work and often neglects his daughter, Soo-an. However, it is while on board the train to Busan that Seok-woo begins to really care and protect for his daughter, and will do absolutely anything to prevent something from happening to her. He spends the majority of the movie protecting his daughter and other passengers from the swarm of zombies. However, he falls at the final stretch. He ultimately gets bitten trying to protect some of the passengers and his daughter, sacrificing himself. They make it to the front of the train and he gives directions of how to stop the vehicle before saying an emotional goodbye to his daughter and throwing himself from the train to avoid the final transformation. It's a devastating ending to an emotionally draining movie. This film is so damn good and everyone needs to watch it. In at 3, we have Tatum from Scream. Oh, Tatum. She had perhaps one of the most unfortunate and unnecessary deaths in the Scream franchise, with the scene still angering many horror fans to this day. It's one of those moments that has you screaming bloody murder at your TV screen. Released in 1996 and directed by Wes Craven, Scream follows Sidney Prescott, a high school student who becomes the target of a mysterious killer known as Ghostface. The movie pokes fun at the cliches and tropes in horror movies, with the movie combining black comedy with a whodunit mystery. Now, Tatum is the best friend of Sidney Prescott. She's feisty and incredibly popular. Her brother is also Deputy Dewey. More importantly, Tatum is the girlfriend of Stu. Spoilers ahead, don't yell at me, I'm going to be spoiling this movie, but it's been out for many years, and if you haven't seen it, that's a you problem. Stu, of course, turns out to be one of the Ghostface killers. However, he wasn't the killer who took her down. While at a party at Stu's house, she goes to the garage for some beer, not noticing the door closing and locking behind her. Then Ghostface emerges, knife in hand, and slices at her arm. She attempts to escape out of the garage door, however, Ghostface closes it, so she tries to exit out of the cat flap in the door, but up goes the door as Ghostface presses the button and Tatum can't escape in time. In seconds, she's brought to the top and killed instantly when her head is flattened and neck snapped. She deserves so much more, but to be fair, Tatum was the rival of Casey, aka Drew Barrymore, who dies at the beginning of the movie, and honestly, I'm team Casey all the way. And also, why the hell do you think you're getting out of a cat flap? Idiot. In at number 2, we have Frank from 28 Days Later. Frank went out in a very sad and unfortunate way in 28 Days Later, and if only he had just not looked up. it could have been a completely different story for him. Released in 2002 and directed by Danny Boyle, this British post-apocalyptic horror movie stars Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, Christopher Eccleston, and Brendan Gleeson, with it depicting the breakdown of society following the release of a contagious virus that turns people into flesh-eating zombies. The movie primarily follows the struggles of 4 survivors who are trying to cope with their new life while avoiding the infected. One of these survivors is Frank, who prior to the outbreak was a taxi driver living with his teen daughter Hannah in a tower block. However, when the outbreak emerges, they are forced to barricade themselves in their home before teaming up with the other survivors. Now, the group decide to head to Manchester, but it is there where everything falls apart for Frank. Manchester is in ruins, the soldiers are dead, and Frank has a full-on meltdown, screaming at a crow eating a soldier, and thumps on a gate, resulting in infected blood dripping down and into his eye. Sucks. He quickly turns, yelling at the group to keep away from him before soldiers emerge and shoot him dead. It is a sad and unfortunate end for Frank, and I truly believe he didn't deserve this death. He was incredibly friendly and loyal to those he trusted. He believed that Manchester housed the answer to the infection, and that he was helping his group of survivors. Sadly, he was wrong. If only he had kept his temper in check and didn't look up. Also, any sane person from the UK would know that Manchester never houses the answers. Shots fired, ha ha ha. And finally, in at number 1, we have Dick Halloran from The Shining. We're going to be specifically talking about The Shining movie with this number and Dick's untimely death at the hands of Jack Torrance. Released in 1980 and directed by Stanley Kubrick, The Shining follows the Torrance family, Jack, Wendy, and their son Danny, who head to the isolated Overlook Hotel where Jack has accepted the position as the off-season caretaker. Now, Danny has a special psychic ability referred to as The Shining, which enables him to see the hotel's horrific past. He's not the only person who possesses this ability though. The hotel cook, Dick Halloran, also has this gift and is able to communicate with Danny telepathically. Now, Dick is the one to warn Danny about the evil of the hotel, and when Jack begins to lose his mind and become a homicidal maniac, turning on his own family with an axe, Dick comes to the rescue. Well, he tries to anyway. Sadly, he is taken down with a brutal blow from Jack's axe. One thing that upset many fans about the death of Dick Halloran was that he didn't die in the book. This was something added just for the movie. Many were upset by this fact. He also went on to have a much bigger role in the Dr. Sleep novel, but of course in the movie he appeared merely as a ghost. He was a genuinely nice guy who just wanted to help the Torrance family, but sadly, he couldn't save them all. Also, an interesting nugget of information for you horror lovers out there. We have also mentioned this in a previous video, but Dick Halloran was also mentioned in It as an army cook and member of the African American Army nightclub in Derry, Maine called the Black Spot, which was burned down by the Legion of White Decency. More you know, it's all connected. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with that list? Were there any horror movie victims that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, top 5 best horror movies of the decade. Craig DeRusso said, terrible list. Well, it's not your list, is it? It's my list. All my lists are good, because it's my opinion and my opinion is correct. Just kidding. Everyone's got a different opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. The list was just my opinion. Kevin Bautista said, Lucy, don't pay any mind to those confused souls. You are quite the slim, thick, dark queen. Thanks. It's still like, I still can't tell if it's a compliment. Slim, thick? It's like saying skinny, fat. It's the same thing, right? I don't know. I'm just gonna ignore it now. Carney D said Midsommar was not a good movie. Again, the horror genre is subjective. That's up to you. I personally love Midsommar, and I know many people who also love Midsommar, but I also know many people who don't like Midsommar and preferred Hereditary. It's a personal opinion. If we all thought the same, that the world would suck. Just a thought. Jenny Coyle said, I thought Midsommar was a massive letdown. Hereditary was insanely great. Another person. Again, horror subjective. It was my opinion. Get over it. Move on. I've moved on. Denise Dutton said, just wanted to wish you and Miss Pugh an early congratulations. She may not know it, but I'm sure you two will be happy together. You would be really cute, just saying. Thank you. Yeah, Florence Pugh doesn't quite know we are getting married. I also haven't proposed. Also, she does date Zach Braff. Very weird couple. Haven't quite wrapped my head around it. But she'll learn one day that we are going to be together. She'll probably find out when she hands me a restraining order. Alex W said Invisible Man deserves to be here too. Well, it wasn't here because I haven't seen it, so I just talk about things I know. I'm closed-minded that way. Black said the greatest horror movie is Lucy moderating. Thank you, you're welcome. I love keeping you all up at night. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later. Night of the Living Dead stars Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea. O'Dea. Let's go O'Dea. The night by doing what Harry initially suggested. While at a party at Stu's house, she goes to the garage. I almost said garage. Whew, so American of me.